Can you see?
Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this IMF press conference, and thank you for coming. It's my pleasure to introduce you today to the Managing Director of the IMF, Madame Christine Lagarde. We also have with us today the Director of the Asia and Pacific Department, Mr. Anup Singh, and our resident representative here in Beijing, Mr. Yi-Hyung Lee. Now, we'll get underway immediately with some remarks from Madame Lagarde, but could I just say in advance, we will try to take as many questions as possible, but that means keeping the questions short. And I would ask that when you do give your question, please identify yourself by name and affiliation. So, Madame Lagarde.
Well, thank you very much, Jerry. Merci beaucoup. Bonjour, ni hao, good afternoon. First of all, let me say how delighted I was to come back to China. I've been to this country many, many times in my previous capacity as chairman of Baker McKenzie, a law firm, then as Minister of Trade, where I met some of you, and later as Minister of Economy and Finance for France. But this is my first visit as Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund. And it has been for me a very productive, very interesting, very rewarding trip in view of the depth of the discussions, the value of the exchanges that I've had yesterday with Governor Zhu, with whom I had lunch and good discussions, and later on in the day with Vice Premier Wang Qishan. And I'm very much looking forward to meetings this afternoon with Premier Wen Jiabao and with another very high-level dignitary of this country. In addition to that, as some of you may know, I was a speaker on this seminar yesterday that was organized by the International Finance Institution. And we had a chance to discuss and exchange views about the current situation, the current economic situation, but also the situation of the financial sector. Now, in the discussions that I've had with officials, I certainly expressed my personal view, the views of the funds, and I would wrap them up around a few C's. My first C is the connectedness that is apparent, that is obvious, that is underlined just about every day as we speak between all economies. You remember there were discussions about decoupling, about the potential immunity of some emerging markets from the rest of the world. This is clearly not the case. We have found that empirically in our research at the International Monetary Fund. We've said so, and it's obviously explicit from what we are seeing in development currently, given the difficulties in the European area, particularly the Eurozone, and the consequences it has or might have in the future on other markets, including the emerging markets. So that's my first C, the connectedness that is critical and exposes all economies to decisions or events taking place elsewhere in the world. My second C is clearly the comprehensive approach, and that was a topic for the discussions that I had yesterday with some of the officials and that I will have yet again today. Comprehensive means this comprehensive approach that macroeconomic policies have, which include both the fiscal approach by authorities as well as the monetary policy that is decided by the central bank, and that clearly combined together have a significant effect on the economy as well as the structural reforms that are underway. And I was able to convey to my contacts and my counterparts in the discussions that we at the fund believe that the Chinese authorities have been certainly heading in the right direction, as indicated in the 12 five-year plan, but are also taking the appropriate approach in relation to their fiscal policy and their monetary policy. although on the latter, clearly, given the fact that both inflation is going down, as was recently demonstrated by the figures released yesterday, and as the portfolio of suspicious loans are clearing off, clearly there will be maybe at some stage in Asia in general, maybe so, although not immediately in China, for a loosening of the tightening of the monetary policy. I'm not suggesting that that is needed now, but it might happen in the future as inflation abates and as the quality of loan portfolios improves. The third one that I would mention in my C's is consumption. There is clearly one message that I conveyed to my hosts, and that is the fact that the Chinese economy could rightly so be more driven by consumption than it is at the moment. It's clearly a trend. It's a direction that is adopted by the officials, but it's one that we see as a critical step forward. Combining the likes of exports, investment and consumption would certainly give a more balanced growth model for the country and would also help outside China. Can you still hear me? I'll speak up because I think the microphone has just gone down. So, yeah? Okay. My third C, and I hope the nice gentleman who is translating can hear me, but my third C is about cooperation. Certainly the G20 summit in Cannes only a few days ago, but also the discussions that I've had recently indicate that the situations of the global economy can only be improved if there is an appropriate degree and level of cooperation between the players. It is certainly in the advanced economies that action is necessary as a matter of priority, but it's also true that emerging markets, and large emerging markets in particular, have a role to play, either by re-engineering their growth model, by letting their currency appreciate appropriately, and also by being participants in all the discussions that are taking place with a view to resolving the current crisis. So this is what I wanted to tell you. In addition to that, I would also like to say how grateful I am to the Chinese authorities for their very, very warm and courteous and elegant hospitality in the last 24 hours or so. It's been a delight to be back in China, and it's very pleasant to see you all in the room, and I hope that you will not ask all your questions just about Greece and Italy. So with that, floor is for questions now.
So why don't we, given the many questions and time constraint, we'll try and cluster a few questions at a time. Let's start with the lady down front. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do. You stand up when you...
Good.
Thank you. My name is Yan Ting from China Business News. European politics has made it difficult to exercise the leadership needed to deal effectively with the crisis. And many economists and politicians now agree that there must be someone else to weigh in and play the role of the conductor for the whole rescue symphony. So in your point of view, should and can IMF play such a role? If no, why not? If yes, do you have any specific plans on the table regarding how to channel monies from the emerging markets to Eurozone, and whether IMF is willing to act as lender of last resort, and whether G20 will grant IMF the mandate to do so? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Several questions there. Let's take a few more.
Yes,
let's take this lady here in the front, and I'll come to you, sir.
From
I'm going to come to you just in a second. Lady in the front, thank you.
We take ladies first.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Lynette Chen from Caixin Media. And my question is, can China use Chinese currency to save Europe by means of investing EFSF or SDR valuation? Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, Benjamin Natale from